Renee.
Yo. We wait all week and all day for more. Saturdays with Renee.
Yeah. What's up, world? Welcome back to episode 50.
Wild.
Of Saturdays with Renee, right here on Black Liberation Media. Renee Johnston. I'm Jared Ball. What's up, everybody? What's up, Renee? What's up to the remixers in the building? Like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon. You know what to do. Put this in your socials. Tag us. I have to have the most social media followers collectively with the least engagement of anybody in social media. I have to be so? Like it. Oh, I gotta be. In terms of what the numbers are, which I mean it's not, but the people with far fewer followers and subscribers get way more interaction. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if I should take it personally, but don't judge
I know you just set yourself up though. You know you just set yourself up.
I mean, I always do, but I mean, what I'm saying though is tag us. Tag Black Liberation Media. Tag Renee.
They gotta tag me at my new like sneak.
Yeah, and you got it right there. Is your life bet one? And no, your life is not better. That's why we need to have a revolution. If exactly. I could just answer your question for you.
There we go. Exactly.
So yeah. Now I know we got our guests already in the building, so I don't want to belabor anything. But just quickly, how you doing? How's the family?
Listen,
what's happening?
We are doing as well as capitalism allows. We are here. Mm-hmm. How is your family? How's the knee? How's the family? How's the life?
Oh, we could talk with our next guest about this, the sports injury. Man.
True.
The trauma and the parental trauma. Never mind the athlete. Damn the athlete and her pain and anguish. It's the pain. No, I'm just playing. Right. It's she's doing actually very well psychologically and emotionally. I'm very much impressed with my children.
That's right.
So she's on her road. In fact, she's out and about now. I got to go catch up with them after the show. Like she's not slowed down. She's in prehab. The doctor said to move the knee.
Got to come down. Yeah.
Got to get that blood out of there. And so she's doing well. But yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you for asking. And thanks for all the well wishes from among the remixers. Oh, and right on time, she sent a text.
Look at that.
Telling me to make sure I bring my bucket hat. She's telling me how I got to dress when I show up in their presence.
She probably trying to spare that bald head right there from the heat.
It can't do sun. I can't go out in direct sunlight without a cover. So
you and my husband both, which says a lot.
That's funny. Shout out to the bald husbands of the world.
There we go.
Yeah, the real ones, not the shavers. Sundiata let us know he shaves. He's out the club. We got beef.
He did.
We got beef. These fake balds. Yeah, he's out. Nah, it's smoke now. It's just smoke.
Hysterical.
All right, but seriously, we do have a special guest whose time is very much important. So let's bring him up here, and we'll welcome back to the show, Chuck Modiano. Chuck. Welcome back. You know what though? Chuck. Hold up, Chuck. My bad, Chuck. You deserve a little bit better than you at least deserve. Come on.
Oh.
You can't be out here. Yeah. You can't be out here doing all that good grassroots journalism and not get a little salute, little salute.
I'm gonna take the applause where I can get it. Whatever is gonna help keep us going, and we take it.
There we go.
But Renee, can I start with that real quick before we get to real stuff?
Yeah,
Chuck,
man,
my daughter blew her ACL for the second time, man. So I thought I would ask you, because in addition to your political reporting, you are also a sports reporter and know that world well. And could you say a word or two about the state of ACL injuries and more importantly, the comebacks that folks can make?
Well, the ACL injuries just keep happening, but the comebacks, that's the key. Now, you could appreciate what I'm about to say. I'm referencing your age here, Dr. Ball. Bernard King, you might remember Bernard King.
Oh my goodness.
Right? They don't know about Bernard King.
They don't know about Bernard King. Just quickly, I know about Bernard because I was also a Washington Bullets fan. So we caught the tail end.
Ooh.
We didn't see the real, but I caught the tail end of but anyway, please go ahead. Yes, sorry about that. Yes. Oh, did we lose Chuck? Did Chuck freeze?
He might have, and he said he was having some tech issues. There we go. I think he's coming back.
Yeah, listen, if it's on my end, then I'm gonna do some switch to something else. But if that happens a couple more times, if I conclude the tech issues is on my end. But first of all, Renee, I didn't even say I got a lot of love for Renee, who I'm going to express that later, and a little bit of beef as well. I'm gonna throw it all in one pot. Yeah, I got something. All right, but before I do that, Bernard King, yeah, he was incredible, and back then when he had this ACL injury, it cost him 2 years. But he was the leading scorer, and this is a time when Michael Jordan was playing. And, people are going to want to shoot me for saying this, but Darrell Walker, who is a player who played with both Bernard King at his peak when he dropped 33 points a game in 1984-85 and played with Michael Jordan, said not player, because Jordan's
Chuck, we might have to get you to make that.
Darrell Walker said. And
I think, Chuck, we might have to get you to make that switch because I didn't even get to hear what you said.
Okay,
sorry about that.
I'm going to tell you what. It might take me 2 minutes. I'm going to make this switch. I'm going to go on an iPad or iPhone. I'll be right back. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Yeah, please. Thank you very much. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. And to Chuck.
I want to know what I did to Chuck. I'm like, what I do.
Now you got to go tell somebody to get on board and get into the stream here because Renee is about to get the love and the hate. So get your popcorn, get your beverage.
Lord. Well, you know what? While we're waiting for Chuck to come back, let's quickly throw up the petition. ML was on Remix yesterday morning, and then she joined Millennials with Jared in the afternoon, and she made a big ask. So actually, if you want to,
wait a minute, is it in the run sheet?
Yeah, it's on the run sheet. You know what it is? I might not have put the actual link, but I'll go find
ML. I got ML on Millennials.
Right. So if you while you play that clip real quick, I'll go pull up the bit.ly.
Okay,
so that we can post that because I'd really like for people to take time during the show if we can push it and get people to sign this petition.
Well, we'll also
all right, right on. Here we go.
Give everyone our social media. I know that the freekhalifa.org is there, but our social media where we are pushing all of this info is at MADPMO. So people call it Mad PMO, right? That's easy to remember. So Mad PMO is our social media. So please go follow us, share what you see, all the postings that we have, and amplify it as much as you possibly can. But again, these are all calls to actions: signing the petition, calling, tweeting, emailing Governor Parson. Also, if you can, support us Tuesday during the date of the execution. We hope it will be stopped. right? And it may come down to the last few minutes, the last hour or so, when the courts or the governor calls it off. We don't know, but we're going to stand in solidarity with Khalifa and with his family on Tuesday, September 24th. So if anybody can join us, definitely let me know. And you can DM, people can DM us on social media or on the freekhalifa.org website, and also send us a message.
There we go. It's actually, so that second link, which is through the Innocence Project, has all the links for people to do all the things, to tweet, to call, to do all the things. So we can share that one, and then people can move forward in the way they best know to be of assistance. And it's big. It's so I don't know. I wasn't even aware of this story out of South Carolina, but yesterday another man was state sanctioned, killed, murdered by the state. That's the other article that's on that same row. 2 days before this was on Wednesday, so 2 days before his scheduled execution, someone came forward and confessed to the crime and said that they were confessing because they could not live with the idea that someone was going to die for something that they did not do. And so the person came forward, made their confession, and was essentially ignored. And the state of South Carolina on Friday evening went through and took this man's life, even though there has to be someone who said to themselves or someone else, like, he may not have done it. And the problem with this whole, as people know, I am 100% against the entire system. Like, I just want the whole thing to just go away. But I feel like the death penalty is its own special type of egregiousness, because once you decide that you are going to take someone's life, you can't undo it, right? Like, there's no coming back if it's ever discovered later, like, oh, they were right, he didn't actually do it. You can't undo that decision, right? And people can't get their life back after 30 years. They can't get that time back after 25 years. They can't, like, a lot of things can't be you can't get the time back, but you still have your life. Once they take your life, there's no backtracking from that. And so I am, every time I see a story about this, any state moving forward with this level of, I just can't. And so for me, I really wanted to, and I sent ML a text. She's been on all kinds of things, so I don't even know if she saw it, to see if she could jump on for a little bit. But I
just sent her an email too. I'm trying to do it something with her as well. So
right.
So yeah, I know. So it's a good kind of busy, but yeah, if she could jump on now, that'd be great.
She's obviously
but,
totally welcome. But I figured at the best what we could do, she made such a clear statement about what people can do to support her and her organization, to support Marcella, and to try and do something. That was my theory. I was like, we'll show the clip. She said the basics right there. Shout out to Millennials Are Killing Capitalism and Jared for having her on.
I didn't get to see it, but I'm sure it was dope.
Yeah,
it was a good discussion. I did. Yeah, I saw her on the remix, and when she tells the part, I mean, the prosecutor is fighting the state's attorney,
right?
When the prosecutor can't even be like, my guy, we messed up. He should, this shouldn't happen. I mean, and then the state's attorney is like, nah, that's not your job.
Right. You're just gonna go ahead. We're just gonna move forward.
Your job isn't to let them go.
And
No.
I had not previously heard this story about was it the DA at the time who touched whose DNA is like mixed in because he
Honestly, I don't
touched the
remember. Yeah.
weapon. Like there's just so much about this case that is problematic. And the fact that it is full steam ahead for the state, we just gonna go ahead and move forward, is wild to me. And I was listening yesterday morning, I can't even remember what show on WBAI, and they were talking about the changes, when states try to change from the death penalty. And maybe actually it might have been ML and Jared, now that I think about it, because I think I ended up switching to my car, like to my phone, to listen in the car. And I think it was ML who was saying that in the state of Virginia, when they decided that they were gonna remove the death penalty, there were like 100 and something people waiting, and the state killed 100 people before they move forward on not utilizing the death penalty. So they basically like rushed through and killed everybody before they ended that action. It's crazy. The whole thing is crazy.
So speaking of crazy, I think we got Chuck back out and walking out. This is how I'm used to seeing Chuck, though. This is perfect.
That's right.
Out in these streets with a camera.
That's right.
Yeah,
this is more
perfect.
authentic.
Yeah,
it's more
absolutely. But yeah, please, if you want to wrap up the Bernard King piece real quick, we can get to the business at hand.
Yeah. Bernard King was just an incredible player. He tears his ACL. It takes him 2 years to recover. We never get to see Bernard King and Patrick Ewing play together except in one All-Star game.
That's right.
That's all we got. And I'm sorry, Pistons fans, but we're wiping the Pistons. Bernard King and Ewing on the same team. Forget the bad boy Pistons. I'm letting y'all know right now. Forget the Lakers at the end and the Celtics. The Celtics were getting old.
I agree.
So history was changed. But to your point about ACL, he was never the same.
Nah.
And you can kind of come back the same today. But what he did is he still came back an all-star. He remade his game from post-up to face-up. And with the Washington Bullets at the time, he became an all-star again, scored 50 points again. And I could go on and on, but I don't want to relieve Renee out of this conversation.
Get her.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead. The love and the hate. We told everybody to get their drinks and popcorn and get ready. So go ahead, whenever you want to start.
Okay. Well, let me start with love. I love Renee Johnston. I mean, what's not to love? So, got knowledge, smart, breaks it down, great analysis. And I kind of said this to you before, Renee. But if I'm on a high after a protest, and I think movement's happening, I think we're going somewhere, I got a problem with Renee deflating my balloon on that day. Coming with her research, coming with the analysis, coming with a historical analysis of imperialism and capitalism. I don't know if this protest is going to move the needle. Save that analysis for next week. Give me my high. Let me ride this week out. I don't got a problem with the information. I got a problem with the timing. What do you got to say about that, Ms. Johnston?
I'm going to take it. I'm going to eat it.
I'm
going to eat it. It's true. I have been told multiple times that I can ruin a rainbow.
Can I tell you what you should say, though? What you should say.
But this particular situation, out of many situations that I didn't hate, I'm going to have to hate until further notice.
So I love what Renee's got to say. It's just the time, because when you're in the moment, you're on a high, and someone's trying to give you facts why this may not be it. You're like, fuck your research. That's like in y'all right there. Tell me next week. But honestly, I love Renee. That's my one thing.
Yeah,
and if the truth is the truth, then that's really all that matters in the end. I would take truth that brings me down a little bit later, And I think I need that truth. So I don't want to misunderstand anyone to misunderstand the truth is important, whether the truth brings you up or down.
Oh, I love you, Chuck. Look, Chuck and I have had some legit conversations over these past couple of years about all kinds of stuff. And it's it's unfortunate that I would love to live in that place of like excitement. Like you go, you go to the space, you sit at the rally, you listen to the talk, like, people get it. Yeah. And then you come home and you find out that, Israel blew off the top of a building so they could kill one person, and no one in media is talking about the realities of what that looks like for everyone else who was hurt and killed, right?
Yeah.
And so it just
listen. Your point is a great point. Now I would say this: since October 7th, more than that, we always protest for justice. That's always the number one reason.
Facts.
That's always the number one reason. The number two reason is, which is related to the number one reason, is media awareness, because that's a long-term justice. You're trying to mobilize people. It may not have a tangible outcome to justice, but you're mobilizing people. People are being radicalized. People are finding community, and that's important too. And I would say more than ever before, there's always an aspect, a healing aspect to protest. If I'm in a world and I have to have people around me who seem like reasonable human beings but are pro-genocide, it messes with you. It messes with your mind. It messes with your psyche. So more than ever, I would say covering protests has a therapeutic healing aspect that I almost need. I need to know that we got it right at this protest. We're as outraged as we're supposed to be, and the rest of the world is crazy. And I'm not just talking about the politicians that we know what they're going to do. I'm talking about just personal people in your life that you're like, too? You too are saying it's complicated? Are you serious? And that actually impacts me psychologically more than I don't expect anything from Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. I don't expect nothing from them. But it's the people you expect from. They mess up your psyche. I have to be around those people in the protest just to keep my mind right. It's not the first or second reason, but it's a reason.
I'm trying to think if it's, you're right. The politics are first.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really good point in terms of the need to be around that. I've definitely replaced some of that with this. Even a virtual version of it is important for me. Because you're right. As soon as we seem to turn off these communities here or leave these spaces here, it's just it's inundation.
Yeah.
And not just the personal, but also the symbolic. I mean, in terms of the media point that you raised, I mean, just everywhere you go. I was walking the dog the other day, and somebody's flying the Israeli flag as they drove by, and I was just like, oh man, whoa! I just felt traumatized. I was like, oof, that's violence, and I'm just trying to walk the dog.
That's right.
So then, so I appreciate that point. Yeah.
So real quick, Ajamu came on also to remix yesterday morning.
Okay.
And he had a little that one, Jared, the on organizing one. What he says here is actually really in line with what Chuck just said about why we go out. So I think let's play that real quick and then we can talk about it.
What the state apparatus is involved in attempting to do, to silence us, to marginalize us, to have us begin to censor ourselves. We say that the way you defend human rights is you exercise your human rights. You don't allow yourself to be intimidated. But we have to build more effective organizations to protect all of us as we find ourselves in the crosshairs of this intensifying domestic repression.
And that's it, right? So we participate in the process to remind ourselves that the process must exist, right? So you can't, that it struck me as I was listening to it. I was like, right. No, that meant right. You can't fight for your human rights without screaming, I have my human rights. So all this madness that's not happening with regard to shutting down protests and shutting down protesters and what's about to start happening on college campuses, because I can just see how this is all gonna start working in a little while now that school is back in full roll.
Right. And we have to
Important
define
to do that.
protest. I mean, I
Right.
think if we narrow protest down to people in the street, then we're not doing it justice. If I'm covering a protest and we're walking by Starbucks and everybody's yelling, boycott Starbucks, boycott Starbucks. And then we look at the ledger and we see the CEO of Starbucks crying because they've lost billions and billions of dollars. We're a delivery mechanism for that message, for a boycott message, for something a little more tangible. How do we hit them in the pocket? We could be a delivery mechanism that hopefully turns into strikes or general strikes, or which products we don't buy. So it's an educational delivery mechanism as well. I would argue more people have learned about what's really going on in Palestine in the last 10, 11 months than in the previous 75 years. So we're an educational delivery mechanism. We're a boycott delivery mechanism. So it's tied together, and we're a radicalizing process. I never know at a protest the first time a new young person is there and they went from liberal to hardcore anti-capitalist from what the experience that they had in those protests. And I would argue to educators like yourself, getting tear gassed a couple times is much more impactful than about 10 or 12 books or racial justice workshops.
I'm still traumatized off that 90 seconds in boot camp that they forced us to go through.
Wow.
Never mind. I'm straight up. It takes very little time to be permanently reminded. That stuff is no joke.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's a really good point. I think you're right about the 75 years and what people have learned. Yeah.
100%. Because there are still conversations that I have now as someone who, I mean, I'm not going to say I was fully versed, but I knew back in 2009, at least I had, I have like some reference that is prior to October 7th of 2023. But it is amazing to me, people who like, they pick the side and they have no clue, right? Like, I'm like, how do you pick a side and you have no understanding of the at least even a little bit of the history prior to what you watched on the news on October 8th? Like, how does
Because
that?
they're watching CNN and not Black Power Media, Renee.
No,
We'll forgive Chuck for that.
I know.
Freezing up. We'll
And
forgive
that's why
Chuck
you
for
broke.
that.
Black Liberation Media.
Oh, am I still freezing up?
Yeah,
a little bit.
A little bit.
Okay.
But in this time, it worked in our favor.
Because I said they're watching CNN and not Black Power Media, Renee. That's why.
I know, and that's the thing, Chuck. It's Black Liberation Media now because
Black Liberation Media.
Yeah, we had our little issues, but
yeah,
we, like I said, we forgive you, Chuck. It's all good, man.
Okay. I got that fixed.
This is this is the universe paying you back for what you said about Renee.
Now I got to know anything I say about Renee is filled with love. Filled with love.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's all craziness. So, have you seen, Chuck, this new push that's happening? That's gonna, because I did bring it up. What's gonna start happening on college campuses?
Yeah.
And this new fight now. And
yes,
I came across, because I am a rabbit hole person, and I don't know how if you ask me how I found this document, I couldn't even tell you like how I ended up getting to it. But, and I don't know if you want to pull it up real quick. This GoActa.org, whatever this is, and an equal space for all, which is apparent. It's in the middle of that protesting for Palestine. Is column C, Jared. So this is it's a document that explains basically like how you can shut down protesters and encampments.
A trusty guide to preventing encampments.
Wow.
And occupations on campus. Wow. Can I?
Yeah. And so obviously this was, well thought out and planned post what happened in the spring on college campuses across the country. What I found interesting was essentially what this document is a layout for how colleges can use their rules and regulations to prevent students from speaking out against Israel. Literally is what it's like. It's literally.
Oh, wow. It can only be with the shame that one reads the long catalog of anti-Semitic outrages on campus.
Right.
In a new book, Solitude to Israel, or Israel Alone. Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the introduction.
This is just the introduction. So this is a crazy, and it's not, I gotta stop. I have to stop referring to these things as like wild and crazy. And like, this is what happens, right? Like the state and the government and, the people with the money and who want to profit and who want to colonize and who want to oppress, they are all fully on board with the Israeli project. They're fully on board.
Can I just highlight this line real quick?
Go for it.
Look at this. I mean, just look at the Orwellian doublespeak. So in talking about restricting freedom of speech and assembly, they're saying implementing such restrictions serves free inquiry, civil discourse, and academic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Right. Yeah. We
and
in it now, buddy.
And this is how the whole thing is laid out. It's this. These people are ghouls, man. Like they are ghouls, because their whole thing is, how do we convince everyone on a campus that's supposed to be there for open thinking and discourse and learning, right? How do we convince all of these people that in order for us to really be invested in the freedom of students to think, you can't hinder them by speaking about the things that upset them, right? So you can't. It's unbelievable.
And they're doing it. NYU and some other universities have adopted variations, and they say, well, you have to teach, quote unquote, both sides to anything. If you bring up Palestine, then you must do that. Well, you must talk about the other side. Does that mean if I bring up the Holocaust, I need to talk about the Holocaust deniers or get Hitler's point of view as well? How does that really work? Because I think if you look at the language, it's all messed up. If I talk about slavery, do I have to talk about the slaver's point of view? What are we talking about here? These were things
what
we were
Baraka
told.
Asked. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, sorry to jump in, but he said the slave and the slave master both can't be right.
Right. And so is this what we're going to go? I mean, that's not what they're trying to do, but this is, you could take it there according to a lot of certainly the NYU language. And so it's absolutely absurd what they're trying to do. But what's interesting to me is that isn't this the fascism that we were promised that when Trump comes, that we'll deal with the way campuses are being treated, the way speech is being stifled, and that's happening right now? Because Project 2024 is scaring the hell out of me right now. and you're telling me about Project 2025, and I'm seeing a lot of what you're talking about right here, right now. So let's be real about what's happening, and these decisions will certainly embolden anyone else who wants to add more speech banning.
Right.
These highlights are wild.
They're
So,
wild.
I mean, in the University of Chicago that produces this Calvin report that they want you to refer to on how to develop policies against protests is, I mean, how many nightmares have come out of the University of Chicago and that have impacted the world?
Right.
Milton Friedman and all the rest of them. And that so it's just all, yeah, this is
Yeah. You're welcome, Jared.
This is
man.
great.
I give you gifts.
I haven't looked at this yet. I've looked individually. Glad I'm going to want to review this afterwards.
All right, I'll send you the link, Chuck. So you
It
can
said
see it.
it said financial decisions of the university will not be made by pressure groups.
Right.
As they're being pressured to make financial decisions by their investors and the board.
Will you tell me Boeing is not a pressure group? Lockheed Martin's not a pressure group? Raytheon's not a pressure group? Apex?
No, they're friends. Those are allies, assets, investors, friends, golf buddy.
I mean, and it's really when you consider how much effort and work all of these bodies are putting into ensuring that people are unable to just speak freely, right? Like the end goal for all of these things is just to shut it all down. We're not going to encourage or allow any discourse that could in any way, shape, or form give the impression that what Israel is doing is wrong. And I just, and this is not the first time, obviously,
I think you're going to see a counter response from activists that is going to be creative. I can't say what that is yet, but I think you're going to see something that is maybe a little bit more creative. But through this process, I mean, I think 2024 has been the year of exposure. Really, like nobody can hide where they stand. Everyone has been exposed. I mean, if you can't say free Palestine with your chest out, including, and the both of you know this more than I do, like anti-racist educators who've written books on like anti-racism, people I've looked up to and learned from, who were like 1,000 times smarter than I am, but not smart enough to say free Palestine because there's dollars and careerism at stake. That's stopping them from saying that. So really, what is education when capitalism trumps it?
Facts.
They are the smart ones. You the dumb one, Chuck, out there saying all that free these people and free that people, and they are smart. Yeah,
it's crazy. And I just, I can't. So I went to an event over the weekend, and it was a weekend long thing, and I showed up. I showed up at the reception wearing my Palestine shirt, right? Because I'm me, right? Like, what else am I gonna do? And somebody was like, it was a reunion, and somebody was like, man, you really have not changed. And all I could do was laugh because, I haven't, one. But two, the amount of people who are like, I like your shirt, and that's cool that you're wearing that shirt. And there's all like this hidden, like this hidden pride about the fact that one person decided to be outright, right? And I spent the whole weekend, I wore my Vote Socialist shirt. I wore my keffiyeh at the big, like, fancy dinner thing. The keffiyeh was my my shawl. During the day, I couldn't figure out how to rock the keffiyeh. It was hot, so I turned my keffiyeh into a purse, and I wore it as a purse. Like, and listen, and people were like, "Wow, that's cool that you got," and all I could think to myself was, I appreciate that others look at that and they think it's a good thing, and but why am I the only one? If you think that what I'm wearing and what I'm doing is good and it's useful and it's important, then should you not be bolstered enough to do the same? Like, and I feel like that's always the thing, right? And this is, so I brought to the audience understands, I brought Chuck on because Chuck is the protest journalist extraordinaire, right? Like he is in every place, climbing walls, standing on trees, doing all the crazy stuff to make sure that folks who follow him are able to be in that moment and in that space that bolsters him. And I get bolstered when I watch Chuck stuff. I'll be like, yeah, Chuck was in the mist. He got it.
Wait,
Right?
Renee, are you saying you get amped up too
I
if I do a good
do.
interview, and
I
does it lift your
do.
spirits?
100%.
Oh, I love it.
100%.
That's like the biggest win right there for me.
100%. And so I've been thinking about this whole idea of how do we really do this, because we're in very interesting times, right? I feel like we're at the edge of a cliff right now, and we're either all going to fall off together or we're all going to find a way to extend the cliff so everybody lives, right? And it has to be, I don't know. I brought you here specifically because I don't know the answer. I don't know if protests and rallies and being out in the streets is the right way. I think back to 2020 and the amount of people who went out onto the street, right? And then I remind myself that law enforcement has grown, budgets for law enforcement has grown, the amount of people police killed has gone up. Like, it literally went the exact opposite direction than what was really desired by the millions of people who went out onto the street. When my mother, sorry, mommy, I do this to you every week. My mother loves you too, Chuck, by the way. FYI. I'm always showing her stuff by you. So
you're the second biggest win then.
So my mother used to march all the time. And she was out on the streets. And she said that one day she looked down and she realized that the only thing she was doing was wearing out her sneakers. Because
the only thing she was doing was what?
Wearing out her sneakers.
Oh, okay.
Because she felt like the change needs to come from a different direction, because just these small groups going out and walking, it wasn't doing the things that so she found other ways. She never stopped.
Yeah.
But going out onto the street was not her path anymore.
Okay.
And then, then she got stuck with me, who just I can't stop. I can't figure out anything. But so it brings me to this question of, like, is this really the path? And I listened to what you say about, maybe you can wake one person up. Maybe you can engage somebody who wasn't previously engaged. Maybe for that moment in time.
It has to be seen as a go ahead.
Oh, go.
It has to be seen as a diversity of tactics. No one is saying protest alone is going to reach the promised land and revolution is going to come and we're going to take down capitalism. No one is. I would never say that. It's an ingredient. Protest is a form of media. Why are we protest? Because we can't access media, but we've been able to access social media in ways since October 7th that would have been ignored and has been ignored for 75 years. And forget America. Let's start with the journalists in Gaza, over 100 who've paid the ultimate price and have died to give us these pictures. Okay, so I always say media will not lead to justice, but it is a prerequisite. I mean, there's a reason that the mass media dominance and multi-billion-dollar empires of corporate media who spout these Israeli lies like the New York Crimes every day and Wash Poe and all these other corporate outlets, no one will say that is not a huge part of the dominance. So protest can't be seen as protest, it has to be seen as media, but it also has to be seen as a diversity of tactics. It's just one tactic. Boycott's a tactic. Striking is a tactic. General workers pulling back their labor is a tactic. And they all must be tied together. It's not going to replace organizing. By any means necessary is a tactic. So you have a bunch of people who may in Atlanta who may be doing a lot of different tactics, from legal tactics for a referendum to educational tactics to canvassing tactics to convince the community, and then you got the by any means necessary crowd. We're going to take out that tractor, and that's a tactic, and they might be like, oh, tell me when A through B doesn't work. Let me know when you need me. There's all diversity of tactics, and if we see it in that light, as opposed to protest is the answer, then you're looking at it differently. And if someone at that protest is inspired to continue, maybe they want to write, maybe they want to have a podcast and educate more people, maybe they want to change wherever they work or their university. I don't know. It's just a one vehicle, but I do believe it's a necessary vehicle. I can point to a lot of metrics that show that.
You know, when you reference Malcolm, I mean, it's a good point that when people hear by any means necessary, it's easy for people on a certain spectrum of the left to take it in one direction, but he also meant it in the other, in the sense that he said, I'm going to join Dr. King and others on these marches and on these protests, and I'm also going to be doing these other things. So you know, for those of us, myself included, who have erred on the side of Renee's mother in this sense, at times, we have to be real that, as you point out, this is one of an array of tactics, and it's similar to the whole voting thing. People who say, no, I'm too radical to vote. Well, then what else are you doing? And those who say, I'm going to vote, well, what else are you doing? Because by any means is uni or multi, what is it? Not uni, but multilateral, multi-directional or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you have to view it that way. You have to view it that way. And I think they're just connected, because people don't know why they're radicals. You know, a lot of times, trajectory that protest changed. I never spoke about it, but I've seen it and I've been impacted by it, or I've learned from it. If I cover a Black Alliance peace rally, ignorant I am, I was so freaking ignorant. I learned so much from protests. But when I cover, say, their rally, they're generally small. They're not that much, but they were the only ones out there during the Free Haiti movement, right? They were the only ones out there. So, all right, let me see what this is about. Let me cover it. It's small, it's not loud. And I was an informational rally. And I would say, like, wow, I did not know that the level and depth of how the United States of America controls Haiti up to this very day. I did not know that. Do some research. I might blast that out. So if we said education in a university, education is important, political education is important, well, political education is happening at these rallies. And if we could broadcast that political education, why is that different than any other education? If I'm on the George Washington University campus and they're having their own political education from 9 to 1 in the morning, and at midnight you got 50 young people watching the Battle of Algiers before the police attack them 4 hours later, that's political education. These things are happening at these rallies. So and we have all kinds of protests, maybe don't even know the full depth of the experience, life-changing experience. People fall in love. There's free food everywhere. They're recreating the world that they want with the free food everywhere. People are loving everywhere. There's Shabbat services for anti-Zionist Jews who are part of all of these protests. You're seeing interfaith love. It's so much bigger in experiencing this, and these are the things that really pull me in, to be quite honest with you. You're seeing this different world that's being modeled. I want to live in this world. I want to live on this lawn, not the world we live in. And when people even get a taste of that, they say, you know what? This is the world I want, and I'm going to fight for it.
Yeah, right on. Renee, do you mind if I ask that question now? Did you want to keep going?
I was just going to say, go ahead and ask your question.
So Chuck, I just got sent a request from someone who's close to the situation about this recent police killing in DC of Justin Robinson.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this case?
I covered that, by the way.
Okay, so
I was at the protest.
Right on. So just so folks who are aware that recently the family of killed DC violence interrupter seeking justice department investigation. Could you just say a few words about the case, or I can
Sure.
I can give a few more details for you if you want, or for the audience if you want, but if otherwise, just in terms of your connection. But otherwise, one of my closest homeboys works in this community and is very much interested in having it be discussed, and we would all like to hear your thoughts on it.
Oh, I'm interested in. I was at the first rally. We had a vigil for Justin Robinson, and then we moved to the 7D police station. And let's just start by Justin Robinson is one of the latest young black men to be killed while sleeping in a car. Like, this is a thing in DC. Karan normally should be met with medical attention if something like this happens. And in his case, if you wake up and he was, there's a whole 19-minute video of only some activists and family have seen. Not
Chuck,
yeah,
you're cutting. Chuck, you're cutting
yeah,
up.
Chuck. Sorry.
You want to try turning off your video and see if your audio.
Yeah, see,
comes through
try
clear?
turning off the video and just coming on via audio.
All right. So,
but that's
you.
no, you're well now. Your video's frozen. If you could turn off your camera and just come on via audio, I think that would be helpful here. Hold on one second. But just very quickly, the case here, as he was as Chuck was talking about, there's been a number of in the DC area and elsewhere around the country, these black men allegedly being asleep in cars with guns and then waking up surrounded by police, and then they end up being shot. And this was somebody who does violence prevention work, who the idea that, so it just strikes as even more odd maybe than just the normal oddity, if we're still calling it that. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
Well, that's exactly right. It keeps on happening. I spoke to them later.
Hey, Chuck, yeah, my bad. Chuck, try turning off your camera and just using the mic, because I think that's messing up the connection here. It might help if you're just via audio.
What about now?
Yeah, try. That's much better. Go ahead. Yeah. Or it was much better.
It's the state, man. It's the state.
Man.
It's the state.
I'm gonna stop.
And you know he was about to spit something we all wanted to.
Yeah, that's
all right.
Yeah, let's see if we can get Chuck a couple seconds here. Yeah. I will certainly continue to stay in touch, obviously, with my buddy, but to see if more comes out. We can play the video of the family, unless I don't know.
Why don't we? It's okay. Why don't we do that, and then we can bring Chuck back up and see if it works.
All right. Meantime, everybody, while I get this together here, please like, share, subscribe, all those things, and let's hear a little bit from the press. Oh, we're here at least a little bit from the press conference. Let's see.
My name is Nene Teller. I'm the executive director of Hurry's Wildest Dreams, an abolitionist Black organization here in Washington, D.C. that's actually here to support and protect all Black lives that's involved with state-sanctioned violence and the different isms that affect Black people. Unfortunately, we are gathered here once again in the name of police brutality. And time again, we got to keep showing up for the same thing. And it comes to time that we say enough is enough. Enough is enough. And in the name of...
What was that?
You shouldn't have to get another call from a family asking for support and to get justice for another family here in D.C. And with that being said, we know that what...
I'm just going to move a little bit to hear from the family a little bit.
By themselves. And when they rode the train, they missed their stop because they fell asleep. And we were looking for them. They finally came back to the stop. And I remember them saying they were in Paris, but they were actually at a train station in Virginia. We all laughed about them stating that they were in Paris. And Justin he started to cry, and he said we were in Paris. And I give you guys that to say that Justin always had an outlook on life that he wanted more, and he was very passionate. And so now, as I stand here and I talk about Justin, and I have to do this press conference for him and speak for my family and speak for his twin brother. Unfortunately, Justin will never go to Paris. He never made it to Paris. That's something that he will never do and that he never got the opportunity to do. So when Justin's life was taken away, so many opportunities were taken away. So many hearts are broken. Our stomachs are turning. I have to console his twin brother. And the call that his twin brother made to me is stuck in my head, of him saying they killed Justin. So when you think about Justin, think about how optimistic he was and how thoughtful he was and how he never got to go to Paris.
Hey, I think we got Chuck back. Yeah, Chuck, go ahead and try to finish your thoughts there.
Well, sure. I mean, he was loved in the community. Let's start right there. He was a violence interrupter. And he was doing better work. And these violence interrupters, for those who don't know what they do, they often go to a situation instead of police, before police, prevent situations because they're credible messengers, they're respected in the community, they want better for the community. And who are you going to listen to? Jason Bagshaw or Justin Robinson? You're going to listen to Justin Robinson. And from what everyone told me, he was very, very well respected. So the outpouring you saw wasn't simply just of another young black man getting shot. I'd say 80 to 90% was the local community who had never really been at a protest before. Maybe Deion K, which happened a couple of years ago. I met a few people who were there, and there was a protest at 7D, but he was loved. And the contradiction was shown because this young man was trying to change the community, and you took him out because you saw him as a suspect. So the sister who was just talking, his sister, she was just talking, she said something very interesting. She said, at the vigil, she said, they don't even know our community. He had his jacket on, meaning the Cure the Streets violence interrupter jacket. He had his jacket on. They should have known right away who he was. They don't even know the community. They don't even know he was trying to help the community. What kind of police are these people? Get out of here. And so just your incompetence, just by seeing the jacket, they should have known. And they did not know. He was a suspect, and the language suspect was used in one of the exchanges. Why is Justin Robinson seen as a suspect as opposed to someone who might need medical attention because he's out in his car? I think we know the answer to that, but before any of these end up in a killing, they start with a black man or a black woman being seen as a suspect. And I don't believe you can separate the beginning from the end.
Look, I mean, that's the story starts with them saying the police were responding to what they said was an accident. So they're supposed to be showing up at what's supposed to be reported as a car accident.
Yes.
Why are you showing up to where you should be, to your point, considering helping a victim who may need your help with your guns drawn, and then with this again nonsensical claim that he went from being asleep to having a gun on his lap, from you responding to an accident call to him being asleep to him having a gun on his lap to it ending in you having to shoot him. That's right. It's
and it's the same conversation we keep having, right? Like all these people who show up at places in their costumes with their weapons, and they're all hammers looking for nails. Like they don't. This story makes me think of Najee Seabrooks, who was killed in North Jersey. I think now it's been almost 2 years, and he was part of a group, an organization in Paterson that would try and go out and help people who are having mental health crises. And he finds himself having a mental health crisis, and the police show up and they take him out. just recently I mean, this is what they do. Like, why are we shooting up train stations in New York cities because people are jumping turnstiles? Like we are now living in this place where it is totally out of control what happens with these people who are there to serve and protect profit. So whenever you have a group who is absolutely given free reign to do whatever they want to community members in the effort of serving and protecting profit, the people lose. And we are going to keep losing these great minds and these people who are seeking to make real change in their communities, because that's not what's wanted. If you actually uplift the community to become self-sufficient, to become self-determined, to be able to take care of themselves, to be able to keep these people out with their costumes and their guns, where's the profit? What's going to happen to all these people who are seeking to make profit off their misery? And this is the problem that we're going to keep encountering, and it's going to keep on getting worse. And while everybody's crying and talking about Trump and what's going to happen, I love that you call it Project 2024, Chuck. That just, I'm like,
Can I up the ante on that? Let's say Kamala does get elected, right? Let's say she gets elected. And if in the next 4 years on TV, they're going to ignore all institutional problems, we're going to continue to have genocide, more cops, more ICE, more oppression that will be unopposed in any liberal circles. And then for 4 years, basically the right wing will be throwing racist and sexist barbs at Kamala Harris, and the news will be going back and forth talking about it 4 years. The right wing's going to be riled up, going to have more power. Tell me what Project 2029 is going to look like. Okay, because I've seen this movie before. Are we kicking the can down the road? When are we just going to confront and fight back? So even for those who are in that liberal camp, I'm not. I'm not going to vote for Kamala. No way. But I'm anti-genocide for starters, and there's a list after that. But for those who are in that camp, who make the argument that I hear, what are the conditions that you would rather fight under? Well, you know what? I've been alive the last 4 years, and I heard that 4 years ago, and I've heard that in previous administrations. And what I've learned is the people who say what are the conditions you'd rather fight under ain't going to be fighting if Kamala Harris becomes the president. They might be cheerleading, but they're not going to be fighting, because I was up in these D.C. streets, and I'm going to tell you what happened a day after November 7th. Joe Biden was a sedative to the police movement. Everyone was coming out. All the white liberals went home, like literally the day after Joe Biden got elected. We had right wingers and come in here, turn this place into a sundown town, and people are like, stay home, fuck that, stay home. Since when do we let Nazis run this town? So all those, that was November, that was December, that led to January 6th. So what I have learned is the people who say that aren't the ones fighting. Now, I may have a different view on voting, but I need that person who says that. I need to see them the other 364 days a year and hold them accountable. And I think that's a much better conversation to have than what are you doing in November.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
Listen, and this is why Chuck is on. This is why. How long do we have you for, Chuck? Do you have to go?
As long as you need.
Okay.
As long, there's no protest today. There's no protest today. You know, that's my gripe with Black Liberation Media. Yeah, it's prime protest time, but not today.
So can we show the other Ajamu clip that I put on there about Trump, because it is actually I'm like, maybe you and Ajamu need to sit in a room together, because I feel like y'all are saying the same stuff in different ways. So the one about Trump, this is also from the remix yesterday. Did I get the timestamp wrong?
I don't know, but it's the timestamp isn't connected to the. Hold on.
No, it's the same clip. It's the same clip.
I know. I'm just saying. I gotta. No.
My bad.
Yeah. Just give me a quick second to.
All right. So in future, I will put the clip twice with the timestamp corrected.
It just takes a brief second more. That's all. You know, it's not that deep. Here we go. Got it together. There it is. Woo, woo, woo. Play.
A movement where the leadership, there was when they placed these individuals on top of the leadership of the uncommitted movement, that came out this weak statement the other day that suggested that by the Harris campaign that clearly indicates they're going to continue the policies of warmongering. Your vote is a statement of your values and your principles. And we should not be worried about the consequences of some kind of Trump returning to the office. Who cares about Trump? As African people, when have we been afraid of any one white person, no matter what office they may occupy? Trump was in office for 4 years. What impact did that have on us? You know, and this struggle that we are engaged in is a protracted struggle that we got to wage, no matter who sits in the white people's house. This notion that Trump will be worse than the Democrats is absolute nonsense, especially when you look at, again, the elements driving the fascistic forces in this country. Okay, so we should be about our principles, our values, and not worry about something like that. We have to watch it because there will be some significant negative consequences, like this deportation plan that Trump has, and we see the kind of inroads that the Trumpian forces have made among unconscious Africans who are now some of the most belligerent voices against so-called immigration. These are all real phenomena, but real phenomena that we can deal with ourselves through our organizations. So we're not going to be distracted and confused by, this intra-bourgeois struggle between the national bourgeoisie and the international bourgeoisie represented by the neoliberal forces. We understand the class dynamics of that. We've got to recognize what our interests are and organize around those interests. So the electoral process is an opportunity to engage the people, to elevate certain kinds of perspectives on certain issues, and to build our forces. That's all we can do with this electoral process. And understand this, it shouldn't just be the focus on the national level, on every other level. There's opportunities there for us to engage this process. We're not saying you put all your eggs in that basket of electoralism, but it's irresponsible to pretend like with millions of our people participating in that process, that we're supposed to just stand aloof from that. That's petty bourgeois elitism. And I reject that on a personal level because basically it makes no sense and it plays right into the interests of the enemy.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Facts. We'll say it. Facts. Absolutely. And it's interesting that unlike I know Dr. Ball, Renee, I'm pretty sure I didn't know you 10 years ago. Amish Baraka, you've been in these places for a long time. I'm a reform liberal, so forgive me for my slow learning. Thank you for the learning that you have given me over the years, because I'm sure I've, in some of my older tweets, and particularly incensed you or whatever. So thank you. But I campaigned for Obama. Okay, that's where I was. And when he said we're gonna close Gitmo on day one, this fool right here believed him, right? And when he said he was gonna end the Iraq war, which he was technically correct, I didn't know he was gonna move all those troops all over the world, right? I didn't know these things. I know he was gonna deport everything. I'm a slow learner, but I did learn from that mistake. And I think we have to keep on learning instead of banging our heads against the wall. And that's the place we're going in now. My fear of a Kamala presidency is that she will do on steroids to what Obama has done, who's she'll put a nice face on genocide. She'll put a nice face on cop cities. She'll put a nice face on some of the worst oppression. I like my oppressors to look like oppressors. I like them to look like Trump, because when they look like them, I notice the people come out in the streets. Because I was in these streets 9 days after Trump was elected president after his inauguration, and there were thousands yelling, "No Muslim ban, no wall," white liberals all over the city. We're taking down airports. It was beautiful. My naive ass thought that we had this new great racial awakening, but I was wrong in my analysis. It was a reaction to Trump, a person. How do I know that? Because 21 days into Biden's presidency, UndocuBlack gave me a call. He said, "Hey, could you come out and cover this protest?" I said, "What's the protest?" And they say the protest is mass deportation of Haitians. I'm like, "What do you mean? My TV told me there's a 100-day moratorium. Joe Biden said it himself. What do you mean mass deportations?" And they said, "Well, there's this little thing called Title 42. It's a loophole, and they're using this loophole to deport mass Haitians as Biden is getting credit for having this 100-day moratorium. So I go down there and there are 50 people, and I tweet the same stuff that I tweeted 4 years earlier. And all these people who love me, Chuck, we love your coverage. Oh, Trump's America, we got to fight back. Now those same people are either ignoring me or saying it's too soon. Is it too soon for the Haitians who are being deported? Who's it too soon for? And by being in these streets, you know, the streets are a metric. If you're out and you see who fight back, it's in many ways a metric of what is going on with people. And Joe Biden was a sedative, and Kamala Harris could be triple the sedative to movements that Obama was. And that fears me, because when you accept genocide one time, you accept genocide forever. And every other Democrat after that knows that they can get away with committing a genocide and still be seen as okay. So you could make the argument in the long run, Kamala, in the long run, could have a much deeper harmful effect than Trump, because we don't know she's the enemy.
Facts. So last week, I sent the we get some people who I swear every week just come on here and then they wait until the show posts completely, and then they jump into the comments and they copy paste their essay from their Word document into the comments to talk about how off kilter I am because I have the audacity to not be super afraid of the right wing and Trump. And I think I have done a sufficient enough job of explaining that it is not that I do not see the concerns with Trump and the right and whatever. It's that for me, this line that people seem to have about how much worse things are going to be with that group than it is currently, when we have armed people in costumes shooting up train stations and shooting commuters in the head because people did not pay their $2.75 to go through the turnstile, right? Like, this is the line that I am waiting for someone to explain to me. At what point are we crossing this imaginary line that is going to move us into this place of fascism that's so much worse than where we live right now, where dudes sleeping in their cars who have spent their time helping their community members are getting killed. I mean, and this is not changed, right? This is the same thing that happened in previous years. This is not changed, right? This is literally what happened in the Wendy's parking lot in Atlanta in 2020, right? So this is not anything new. So I want people to understand that when I say I can't be worrying myself about Trump and Project 2025 and the right and what this future fascism, because I'm living this shit now. And if we can't, if you're worried about, you know, someone actually posted like, you know, we can't be supporting people who are trying to what was the word, Jared, that we had the Geechee. It was something about stop and frisk. And Trump was going to encourage stop and frisk. And that was their concern, right? I'm like, bruh, stop and frisk is happening right now.
Right now.
Happening right now. And you want me to be worried about this person who is going to encourage the thing that is happening right now.
Right now.
And you need me to be worried about that, the future encouragement, and you're not worried about the fact that it's happening right now. You're worrying about the future lack of immunity for police officers in response to them killing people, but you're not worried about them killing people right now. Like, I don't have time for that.
No. And let me bring it to DC, because I've seen how people react when Trump's goons are out there. I'm talking in the media and how liberals might react. But when Trump's goons left in George Floyd after the first week, and Mayor Bowser's goons, MPD, were doing the same thing, sometimes worse, and they would say Trump's America, and I'd be, no, that's Bowser's America or Bowser's DC. Let me correct you on that. They left after the first week and a half. Now they're quiet. So what are you going to do for me? Because in DC, they have stop and frisk. And the same studies that were done in New York City of stop and frisk came out in DC. But there were no changes because Mayor Bowser is a Bloomberg protege. She's not only a Bloomberg protege, not only advocated for him as president, not only has partnerships, but has the same policies. I believe if you took away her face and looked at her policies, you think they were right-wing policies. Talk to any activist in D.C., they hate Bowser. Talk to any person outside of D.C., they love that she wrote Black Lives Matter in the street and stood up to the bigot Trump before she replicated Trump. So these people are not knowledgeable of what actually is going on, and we need to talk about it. And what's clarifying for me, because I could talk to liberals, the reason I could talk to liberals is that there's no argument that any liberal can make that I wasn't previously making. I'm like, oh yeah, I said that in 2004. What do you? Come on, this is some old stuff. So I could come back and like I said, I'm slow, but it took me a minute, but I'm here and I know those arguments. And one of the most clarifying, besides listening to people like you for years, one of the most clarifying lines for me was the late Glenn Ford from Black Agenda Report when he said, Democrats are the more effective evil. Like, let's throw that lesser term out the window. The more effective evil. Why are Democrats more effective? Because they have no defense. There's a matador defense. Go put as many cops on the street as you want. Fund the police like crazy, Democrats. Genocide like crazy, Democrats. There's no defense. I would rather have Trump and defense than Democrats and no defense. So when I'm thinking about things, I can't think about who's better or worse without thinking about how will liberals behave, fight back or not fight back moving forward. And if my answer is liberals ain't gonna do shit under Kamala, then let's have this fight now than 4 years from now, and it's gonna be a harder fight, kick the fight down the road, because at least you're gonna fight in these streets with me. And that's how I look at it. Glenn Ford, who is the more effective evil? And I think you can make a very objective argument that that is Democrats.
Facts.
Y'all got me heated this morning.
I love it. I think that's actually true. And so what I wanted to say was that Chuck exemplifies the silver lining that I thought might exist after Obama's first election. Because that was my only hope in that moment was, okay, we're going to get 8 years of this bullshit. And then there's going to have to be a community of people that emerge from this more clear. Chuck is at least one of a handful, but it didn't hold. It certainly for most it didn't clarify, because the narrative immediately became the Republicans have stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. And remember Chuck when he was saying, my favorite was when Obama said, now that I'm elected, you have to make me be the president you want me to be.
Right.
So you have to get out and do and we were like, it's like, my guy, they just elected you. It's like, and now all of a sudden you seem to be powerless in your elected office. But yeah, once those narrative shifts start taking over, and they can plug in the Republicans held us back, it becomes, and then even worse was when they came back after with the second election where he won with a smaller margin, and then when Hillary lost, they blamed Black people.
Right.
They were like, "Where were you? You didn't come back out."
It's always the Black people's fault.
That's always bothered me when 66% of the white men voted for Trump, and I'm like, maybe you want to go into that pool rather than discuss the variance. Now, if Black people want to discuss the variances of the Black vote amongst themselves, or the slight 3 or 4 percentage difference between Black men and Black women, go fine. I don't need to be there for that. But I don't think any white person on TV or host should ever discuss the Black vote when the white vote is so pathetic, so destructive. There shouldn't be one sentence on the Black vote from any white person anywhere.
Facts. So Josie's here. And
all right.
Word. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm excited because y'all know I'm a rebel rouser, and so
yeah,
I am on a mission to create as much disruption as I possibly can in every place possible. And so,
is she intending to stay off camera? I just want to be clear before I bring her up.
I believe so, but you know what?
Okay.
Let me
find out.
Let me text her and ask.
it's safer to bring someone on when they're off camera if they're not ready than to bring them on when they are on camera and they're not ready. So that's so the camera's off, so we can bring her up and then we can see what there's the camera.
There she goes. Driving and on the internet, Josie.
Oh, so we got people in cars, we got people in the streets. This is Saturday with Renee in the streets. Outside.
And Josie, mommy's on the screen. So if it's
we see. Oh, my bad.
That's Josie's mom. So
hold on. Let me just get Josie, just so you're clear. Yeah, if you could just all right. Just so I don't know. Yeah, we want to make sure protect the integrity of moms.
That's to turn her camera on.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold back for a second and let's.
All right, so I'm gonna text her, and then but I can give the background. So as everyone knows, I've been writing for Public Square Amplified as a community journalist and sharing the variety of things that's going on in New Jersey. Public Square Amplified is an independent nonprofit news space based out of Newark, New Jersey. And the goal for Public Squared in part is to always elevate the voices of the community. So all of the journalists who are associated with Public Square Amplified are pressed via the Society of Professional Journalists, which is PSJ. Each state who has a chapter in PSJ gets its own state-based, version of the chapter. The New Jersey chapter of the PSJ has decided that they're going to put on a webinar, and the webinar is going to be about combating propaganda. And the people that they're bringing on to do this talk about fighting propaganda is Honest Reporting. Now, based on the title Honest Reporting, you would think that, what they're going to do is talk about how you report honestly. What Honest Reporting is a propaganda machine for Israel. So those of us who are on the outside watching what they're about to do are trying to understand how on earth a journalist society has picked a propaganda site for Israel to discuss how propaganda is a problem in media. How does that work exactly? And so, so that remains the question. And so I asked Josie if she wanted to come on, because Josie, she's not answering my text. You have to turn your camera is actually on, Josie. So you have to turn your camera off. And then we can bring, there we go. Now she's good.
Can you?
And so,
yep.
Welcome.
Sure.
Thank you. So Josie has joined. She is the publisher for Public Square Amplified. And I wanted her to come on to discuss how this has all played out and what has actually happened with Josie specifically in this situation.
But first, Josie, first of all, welcome. But before we even get to that, I love the YouTube channel and all of that. The only problem is you got my man Todd all over it. And my video's not up yet.
Well, that's because our digital administrator is editing and getting a thumbnail together. And our digital administrator is always slow. So we are the mercy of the digital administrator.
It's all good. It was an honor to be involved. Thanks to you and to Renee. It's always good to follow my man Todd's footsteps. And it was good to build with some impressive younger folks in that discussion who seemed to radicalize. A couple of them radicalized during the discussion. So that was beautiful. So anyway, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. And just so full disclosure, Renee Johnston is our digital administrator.
There
it is.
It all goes full circle.
It's a circle, yes. So there is someone by the name of Renee Johnston who is our digital administrator. And in fact, it's been really exciting to have her because she's transformed our website. And Todd Stephen Burrows has been a long time colleague and friend and mentor and etc. And I've been trying to get him to participate in Public Square even before I launched it. And Todd's taught me a lot about the Black press. I don't have a journalism background, but I thought that a newsroom was a great space to do organizing work and to do public engagement. And so it allowed me to work with young people because they were showing up in my classroom lacking critical thinking skills. But that's it. So we have Public Square and we're hoping that we're doing something with it. Before I start with the Society of Professional Journalists, just to go back to something Chuck said, and hello, Chuck, such a pleasure to be on next to you.
The pleasure is mine.
So what both you and Renee may want to do is sort of look at across the country, two things, where Bloomberg Philanthropies and Bloomberg Technical Management companies have played a role in cities led by Black political officials. In 2008, I think it was, Mike Bloomberg got a massive award from Harvard because he pioneered technical management in New York City and really transformed the city. And so you see sort of that same sort of technical management approach to managing cities playing out across, and particularly where you have Black public officials. You may want to take a look at that. That's particularly significant and important to have both technical management consultants and Bloomberg Philanthropies funding policies around policing, around education, particularly in charter schools, a variety of things. You just might want to take a look at that. And I say that because I sort of worked on homelessness prevention policy and had great opportunity to do some public policy during his tenure. But you want to take a look at that, what technical management is, and how technical management sort of guts the social fabric, and how public policy plays out, how it gets made, how it gets funded, and how it plays out. And you see it in Newark, you see it in Detroit, you see it in a variety of cities. So now to the Society of Professional Journalists. So we're members of the institution. Our press passes come from them. Renee Johnston has a press pass. I have a press pass. People write for us.
I think she just. Oh, I don't know what she just did.
Yeah, because I feel like we hear the car. Josie, we're not hearing
that
you.
Might be a
moment.
car with me.
Oh, okay. Maybe the sound disconnected. Yeah.
All right. Well,
you know what I did?
Okay.
To get my connection back, I went back and closed everything on my phone, anything that was open, and that gave me a little more bandwidth.
Okay. Josie, if you heard that, maybe give that a shot. But I'll keep my eyes open for you.
All right. And so if you want to pull up real quick the link for the actual webinar and what was posted to explain, I guess, the purpose of this thing. And while we're waiting, this has turned
you
into
talking about the Prism link?
No. The link for so that's the article. Next to it, how to avoid bias in your Middle East. That is the detailed event information, so to speak. And so this is what they put forward for what's going to happen with this webinar. And so, it's I think I would be less aggrieved by this presentation if they said that the presentation was just about being biased in media, right? If you're avoiding bias in media, then we should not be talking to people who participate in biased media. But here's the part. Go all the way down to the bottom. Do you see who this dude is? You see that? A reserve, a reserve soldier in the IDF spokesperson unit. This is the person that they're bringing on to lead this discussion on media bias. All right, Josie said she's back, so let's see.
I can't even believe they left that in the bio. It just stands out crazy.
Look,
Did Chuck mean to be taken? Did I take Chuck out?
Can you
Did
hear
you
me?
mean to
Yes,
Josie.
we got you, Josie.
Oh, good. I wasn't sure. So I ran to do that work. So I'm an incoming board member, and I saw this ad for this show, and I thought honest reporting. Let me check this out. So I checked this out, and I spoke to the president of the New Jersey chapter. I spoke to him and I said that this program couldn't go forward. One, there were governance issues that the board had not yet met, and a program was being launched during the time that the current board would be in session. And so there were governance issues that I raised. And second, that he couldn't, because we're a journalism board, he could not use a corporate media propaganda site and machine to discuss bias. So we had a long conversation. And I said, this is our position. I recommend that you remove it, or we will have to resign. So by Sunday night, the program was still on the agenda, and so I sent an email stating that we were calling for a cancellation, or we would resign. There was another newsroom later I found out, headed by a Jewish young man who'd also written long emails about the program. Being a Jew, he was advocating for the program to be canceled as well. They rejected his requests and called an emergency meeting, because I'm on the board, so they had to call an emergency meeting. And so we had an emergency meeting where it was, we discussed that the program was sanctioned by the president of the National Society of Professional Journalists, that's run by a Black woman. And it was also sanctioned by the vice president of the New Jersey chapter, who happens to be part of NABJ. And the gentleman who runs the board in New Jersey is also a Black gentleman. So there were 3 Black people who engaged in sort of what I said at the meeting, and I'm, it's not a confidential meeting, that we were engaged in promoting a corporate Zionist propaganda site. The gentleman who proposed it said that he proposed it because he was pro-Israel. He believed that honest reporting would present an unbiased view of what was happening in Israel, because Israel was being demonized or victimized in the press, and that the crimes that were being committed against Israel were not being acknowledged and were not being addressed. So we had about a good 2-hour conversation on the choice of the board to do this. And so there was a vote at the end of it, and I can sort of talk about some of the things we discussed. But they were adamant that this was a journalism site. And, my discussion was, we were now sort of changing journalism. We were bringing propaganda media, corporate propaganda media sites into journalism. And so that was not our job. They were adamant that this would allow them to practice their journalism skills. They wanted to get to the truth. They wanted to get to the bottom of it. And I said, if Honest Reporting hired me, I could answer any of your questions. They are a media site. They're very clear about their mission. They're very clear about their objectives. They're not hiding it. There are no gotcha questions to ask them. Beyond that, it was not our role to platform propaganda machines. And it was not our role to not just propaganda, but just an organization committing blatant lies. And also, as I said in my email to them, it was a site that was being used as a propaganda to promote genocide in the occupied Palestinian territories. And so we took the position that in our newsroom, we have Jews and Palestinians and Arabs, etc. And so we could not support this webinar. We would not remain on the board. And that if they did, if they continued, that I would then make public my resignation. So that's a little bit of the overview.
And this is why I am the digital administrator for Public Square Amplified, because my publisher is this is what I can expect from the person that I am working with, is that she is not going to roll over in a meeting and allow this type of nonsense. And the more I read about honest reporting, the more I understood about what they actually do as an outlet, the more outraged I became. That this fraud of they are a journalist site when they are a propaganda site, and then they're going to come on and talk about bias in media.
So what? And the critical piece is the person who proposed this was very clear that he was pro-Israel, and so I think the insidious piece of this is that this is trickled down into this is trickled down into local newsrooms and local spaces. So there's this huge sort of current discussion at the funding level, right, at the national level, to fund local news and local news to protect democracy, to save democracy. And so newsrooms are opportunities to save democracy. So you have, and you know, we can sort of look at where those monies are coming from and how those monies are dispersed, but newsrooms are being gutted, and local nonprofit newsrooms are popping up everywhere to sort of catch the largesse of journalists and newsrooms that are crashing. So this individual, this journalist, took the position that he was pro-Israel. This is a journalist in a meeting with journalists making a statement that he was pro-Israel. And so I said to them, you know, so if we're going to if we're going to accept that one of our board members has established that he's pro-Israel, well, I'm going to have to call for Farrakhan in the final call to show up. Like, you're leading me to demand publicly that you bring on Minister Farrakhan in the final call. There is no Palestinian newsroom that has the money and the power of honest reporting. There is no Palestinian newsroom. No one has the power and the money to drive an agenda from the Palestinian perspective. I said, so you cannot, and another position we took is that you cannot bring on a Palestinian journalist after you've assaulted them to claim their dignity and their humanity after they've been assaulted, because that's exactly what you are attempting to do by bringing on the other side. So the fallacy of the two-sided journalism, the fallacy of, you know, we can bring on another side after the fact, is also at play here. Are you guys hearing me?
Exactly. No, we're good. Exactly. So
because I'm driving, so sorry.
I know. Be careful. And so the article that I shared from Prism, Jared, which is the other link that's on that robe.
Yes.
There is information, and we can share that. I know you can put it on the notes and stuff. There is information for what people who are outside of this journalist society and who just take issue with this, as I take issue with this, means to communicate and to express their absolute disgust with this idea that we're going to bring in a propaganda machine to teach journalists about media bias, because it's literally, that's not possible. It is impossible for this honest reporting group to come in and to give anyone information about avoiding media bias. It's not possible. So,
and it's just, you know, it's the lack of, and I think, you know, and Jared sort of like, you know, is probably sort of like horrified, right? It is the gutting of even education for journalists. Like, what is journalism? What is news? How are you, you know, in my initial email to them, I said, you know, it is not the business of journalism to promote empire. It's the responsibility of journalism to hold power accountable, to investigate, and to tell the truth. So we are shifting sort of definitions around journalism, around reporting. And it's become, and what we're seeing is that propaganda machines are sort of getting mainstream. And that's all about who's funding journalism. And, you know, on this board, there isn't, and as I said to them, I said, I'm looking around this board, there isn't a Palestinian, there's not an Arab, there's not a Muslim. I'm none of those, but in my newsroom, I have Palestinians and Muslims and Arabs. I also have Jews. You've awarded hijabi the highest journalism award last year. That came to public square, and that was a hijabi. You've also, this year you will award us for our coverage of Palestinian protests. This is there are some contradictions here, and I'm not sure if we're understanding what journalism means. And so, and I mean, what it says is that people don't really care, and even at the local level, people aren't interested. So.
No, right on. So speaking of a couple of things that have been brought up, it's from Todd that I first learned when he brought me into the grad program at College Park, that universities develop colleges of journalism as subsidiaries of newspapers who didn't want to have to train the journalists themselves.
Yes.
One of the things that got us both in trouble there, and why I think we're still the last, I don't know, I have to double check, but we may still be the last two Black men to ever be matriculate from that graduate program. I think I might be 100% right, but at least for many years that was good. But in part because we both ran into in various ways that problem of, well, what is journalism here to do, and who's funding it, and what is the relationship, despite the claims, between journalism and the expansion of empire. And the other thing was that Glenn Ford used to say as well, that all schools of journalism should be closed, and the journalism program should become subsidiaries of English departments, so that people just learn how to write and construct a story in a sentence. And then the basics of journalism are more or less easy to teach. What ran me afoul is that I wanted to do communication studies, which is more broad than journalism and more threatening to the idea that journalism could only function for the state, or only functions to be critical of the state, which is part of the mythology. So all of that, I really appreciate what you all are doing, and that struggle you've engaged and how you're engaging it, both Josie and Chuck, on that issue.
Well, we're hoping that people would call or send emails. I mean, this is critical. There was a meeting scheduled with the I believe Arab Middle Eastern Journalists Association that didn't come to fruition. And even in that sense, when I said to them, I don't care if you're bringing a Palestinian voice, this shouldn't exist, and you cannot have there is no opposing side to a pro-Israel side. We're not, that we're talking about a pro-Israel side. What Todd and I learned this summer in doing our community journalism program is that, writers, people who really enjoy writing and want to write and want to do news, like you met Zoe and Ishani, we've got to create a separate track where we have, because what we say is, based on, because we're sort of, before getting to emancipatory journalism, I was talking about liberatory journalism, but like in emancipatory journalism, you have to place your news within historical context. And we pay attention to language, statistics, and where those statistics are coming from. It takes a while for us to do our stories, as Renee will tell you, because we try to be really serious about placing issues within historical context. And so we recognize that, writers need that. And then sort of activists need ways of telling their stories, but also need to move beyond, need to move beyond rhetoric and move into analysis. And so those are what we're seeing in the younger generations. And we had them this summer. It was really tough in both tracks. And so Todd and I are hoping that as we move forward, that, as Todd calls it, we need a mini institute, Josie. We need to raise money for a mini institute. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Josie. I appreciate you jumping on and explaining. And
thank you, guys.
we will add to the notes, Jared, that article. And I guess I'll try and see if I can flesh out exactly who people can communicate with. But we are asking our folks to do that, to express
to make a statement.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to say before I leave, it's something I guess Jared and Todd can think about, right? We have 3 Black journalists that are taking a position that this is journalism, that this is valuable, and this should go. You could put this on. And so I think that is also sort of concerning when we think about journalism as a tool of liberation has been for Black Americans in the history of how you educate the community about oppression, about liberation. So we have these three sort of mainstream Black journalists taking the position, yeah, this is credible. Like, Josie, this is credible. We should put this on. So that's just my last statement.
Josie, thank you very much. Please come back anytime, and we'll talk to you soon.
And you come back, because we're planning to do a post-election. They're very excited. They had a great time.
Anytime. So. I had a great time. You know, pun intended. I had a ball. So let's go.
Excellent. Okay.
All right.
Peace out, people.
Thanks, Josie.
Peace. In fact, that was on my birth announcement. We had a ball, allegedly. That's so you know. Chuck, you wanted us to share something in the few minutes we got left. I got it pulled up. If you want to, do you want to preface it real quick?
Let me set it up. Well, first of all, thank Josie and the courage. You asked, how do we get past this? Everybody where they sit, where they stand in their lane, it has to show Josie's courage, take a stand and do what they can. So I think it's really starts micro in that level. As for the clip, the reason I wanted to show is because I think it really relates to our conversation about protest. And I got so much feedback in this moment. This is a young man outside of the presidential debate in Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago. There was a monster protest that was ignored by corporate media. We had thousands in the street asking for a free Palestine. And I think this video encapsulates the feeling and the feeling of rage. And the last thing I want to say is the amount of comments that I've gotten about this, that this fills me with hope to fight another day, that feels like something. But I'll stop and let you play it.
All these viruses and kids getting blown up. They dropping 2,000-ton bombs or something on people. It's insane. You never heard of this stuff before. And all these people are getting paychecks, all sitting there acting like y'all never seen nothing. Y'all ain't checked the news. Check online. There's 200,000 people that died. And y'all all sitting there trying to intimidate the people that's speaking up. Y'all can't even say that they said anything wrong or did anything wrong. And everybody doing everything within the law. It's the law. You have the right to protest. You don't have the right to intimidate people. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
Why do you think they broke up the protest? I think they're using their bikes and shoving people.
Because they're a mob. They're a gang. They don't even know what they're doing. They don't even have any idea. If you go and ask them a question, they just know that the next person beside them doing the same thing. They're just getting orders over the radio. Everybody over here already know what's happening. A genocide is happening, and both the people that's running for president is pushing it. So what y'all got to say? Anybody? Anybody?
When you're mid-sentence, you get so frustrated that you just start screaming at people. I mean, that's the part, right? Like you realize that you're standing in a space and you are trying to get people to understand that people are literally dying. And you look up and you see the folks in costumes on their bikes with their guns doing nothing but getting in the way. Nothing but getting in the way.
No, it's crazy. It's and again, I just echo what I'm sure a lot of people say and feel in terms of appreciating not only that those folks are out there doing that work, making that noise and representing those views, but that you and a handful of others are out there capturing it. Because it is, you prefaced it, it just doesn't get a lot of coverage. Those politics and protests don't get a lot of coverage, and by design. I mean, yeah. So that the link to that, which of course would allow people to follow up with you is in the show description, as is the story critical of what is it? Honest journalism, telling the truth as we lie through our motherfucking teeth.
Honest reporting. I mean, the audacity to have that as your URL and your the audacity. That is caucasity at its finest.
Yeah.
You are
That's
calling
not what
yourself,
that is.
right?
You call it movement journalism. We could call it, not them, but liberatory journalism. I first heard of emancipatory journalism through Dr. Ball and Dr. Hammond Shah. You did whole shows on this. We've talked about this. Call whatever name you want, but it's for the people.
Yeah.
And it is representing the voices of the people, not representing privilege and power. And we have to be transparent about that.
Agreed. And we can't be silent. You can't be silent for all, for all of the things, the opportunities that you have every single day to just be a person of truth, right? Like, you can embrace those small moments to just be a person of truth. And it may not work in your favor. It may cost you in the end. It may create a problem for you in the end. But, the one thing that I can, for all that I've gotten that is not great from my decisions to just be truthful, right? About the realities of what happens in this world, I sleep at night, right? Because I am not going to pretend like I don't know what I know.
Right.
And pretending like you don't know what you know is what makes you not sleep at night. Right. So I can't go I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to try and enjoy the little bit of life that I have. Right. Like, I have the abilities to go to a reunion and to go do something or whatever have you. But I'm going to utilize that time to always remind myself that there are other larger things in play in the world that I cannot forget about. So I have a little tiny Palestinian flag that sits on the dashboard of my car that a lovely Palestinian woman gave to me at a protest. And I'm never taking it off my dashboard, right? So everywhere I go, and everywhere my car goes, and everywhere I park, and everywhere, that little flag is there in the dashboard for people to see, like, okay, there you go. And I just ordered some new Palestinian pins and I had to order a whole bag of them because I kept losing. I had 3 of them. I've lost all 3 because they're tiny and they clip off at the everything. So I just ordered a whole bag load of them. So, if the one I'm wearing drops off, I can have another one that I can throw on real quick. And I'm just,
But Renee, you talked a little about the objections, and I got that when I wore a Free Palestine shirt in the mall. But I got something else. Talk about some of the love that you received. You might have forgot that you had it on, and who approached you, and who hugged you, and who gave you love.
Right. We went to check into a hotel one time. This was like back in January, and I was wearing my keffiyeh, and we're like waiting for the guy to check in, and the person who was next to the gentleman who was checking us in said to me, "I love your keffiyeh. I'm from Jordan." And I was like, "Oh, that's where this keffiyeh is from." It's from Jordan. And we had a lovely conversation. And I go to get coffee and people say to me, "Thank you for wearing your keffiyeh." Right? Like, and those are the moments whenever it happens, I remember that it's, that people appreciate it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's important for people to hold on to those moments. You're right, Chuck. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That happened to me, and it's a beautiful thing. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. When people are giving you love.
Yep. All right, let's not get in trouble.
No, we don't want to get in trouble. We're going to hydrate, stretch for warrior class. But Chuck, anything you want to give a quick heads up about on our way out? Same with you, Renee.
October 5th, DC. I actually won't be here because I'm in Kansas City for other reasons, but there's a huge Free Palestine rally October 5th. That's 2 days before October 7th, which marks a year. There's a huge rally in Washington, D.C., but there is also rallies all across the country. So go ahead online and check that out. And I just want to thank you both. You've been doing this work for a real long time, and I'm humbled and appreciative to have an opportunity to have this dialogue.
I think it was great that we brought Chuck on for number 50. That's
number 50.
Number 50. 50.
And
Wow.
and when we get Hiram for the sports program, we're gonna have to bring Chuck on for some sports and politics too.
Yes.
And I need to know, is Hiram gonna be a regular on Fridays?
I don't know, man. We trying. I mean, it's these people's contracts. You know, Mr.
You just don't read, beloved.
You know, yesterday's price isn't today's price, as they say. You know what I'm saying? These cats are expensive. No, we're trying. We've been trying to get Hiram on as much as possible, and I think it'd be great to trick him into more engagement through some sports and politics.
I agree, and I think we should plan,
especially since Cam. I'm sorry, but Cam and Mesa over there talk about with Tyson. All three of them are voting for Trump.
Oh,
so we gotta. Yeah, they just talked about it yesterday. Tyson are there taking mushrooms on the show. Which is, on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like these conclusions. So we need to counteract that with some sports and politics. Yeah,
maybe we should do like a Patreon only special, and if we can do it with Chuck. See if we can get Hiram on. We talk about this whole cross space of sports and politics and have that conversation. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Do it.
I will ask people, please take some time once we post to tell NJ. SPJ, how ridiculous it is that they're bringing on this media propaganda in an effort to lie and pretend like they're talking about stopping media bias. If we could get some support with that outside of the organization and outside of Public Square, and feel free. I'm going to post it. I'll post something on my Twitter once I figure out the exact wording. If we can get people to support that, it would be much appreciated.
Right on. All right. Thanks to Chuck. Thanks to Josie. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Free Khalifa, free Amal. And as always, peace only if you're willing to fight for it. Like Fred Hampton used to say, we'll see you next week for more Saturday with Renee.